Hey, what is up, mortals? It is SBurkVA here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 4 of What If Deku Had a Regen Quirk. I just wanted to greet you guys by saying sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. And so, we begin. The next day, Mineta walked into the classroom, pale as a ghost. He explained that he got expelled and immediately reinstated so that he could learn his lesson about taking hero work seriously. As the class discussed the possibility that their teacher might be insane, a powerful voice entered their classroom. "I am here to be your foundational studies teacher." The class cheered as All Might introduced himself as their teacher, and with a push of a button, compartments in the classroom wall extended out to reveal the students' hero costumes. Midoriya took his suitcase from the compartment. He had been designing his costume since elementary school and was brimming with excitement. He rushed to the locker rooms with the rest of the class to see his vision come to life. Midoriya made several last-minute accommodations to the costume to account for One For All, and in the end, it was everything he'd imagined since he was a child. His costume was a deep crimson red inspired by a popular American vigilante whose costume sported the same color. The idea behind the collar was so that enemies couldn't see him bleed. He had joint braces on his elbows and knees to help his body accommodate higher levels of One For All usage. The arguably most iconic part of his costume was his hood and face mask. When the hood is flipped up, it would show two bunny ear-like protrusions that vaguely resembled All Might's signature hairstyle, and the mask would double, hiding his face and resembling All Might's smile. The students walked out onto the training ground, sporting their newly made costumes. The class was unable to contain their excitement as they chatted loudly to each other about one another's designs. All Might's overpowering voice pulled everyone's attention to him, as he explained the drill the class would do. It would be a heroes versus villains trial. The villain team would protect a weapon, and the hero team would have to capture the weapon. If the hero team doesn't capture the weapon within the time frame, they lose. Simple as that. After getting the explanation out of the way, All Might had the class draw lots to determine the teams. Midoriya gulped nervously as he and Bakugo had the same letter on their lots. Bakugo stared daggers into Midoriya, but didn't say a word to him. All Might then drew lots to determine the matchups. The first matchup was Bakugo and Midoriya as the hero team versus Todoroki and Kirishima as the villain team. The match started, and Midoriya kept on trying to get Bakugo to listen, but he wouldn't. The blonde kept going on ahead through the building's corridors while ignoring Midoriya's calls. "Kocha, we need a strategy." "I don't know. Teamwork needs trust, don't you think?" Bakugo emphasized the word trust, sending a clear message. "Oh, he's playing that game," Midoriya thought. "Look, I'm sorry, but this isn't the place or time to talk about this. We're going up against some of the strongest people in our class, and we have no plan." Bakugo scoffed as he prepared to turn a corner. Spikes of ice rushed towards the hero team, threatening to freeze them in place. Bakugo reacted by sending a large explosion toward the ice, destroying it on impact. An icy haze combined with the explosion's smoke blurred the hero team's vision, and as the fog dissipated, the pair saw a glowing red eye emit from the other side of the corridor. It was Todoroki. "Sorry, but the trial ends now," Todoroki stated, exhaling an icy mist. Ice covered the floor, walls, and ceiling as it rushed toward Bakugo at high speeds. Before it touched his foot, Bakugo timed his jump and used his explosions to propel himself toward Todoroki. The two exchanged attacks, countering each other with explosions and ice, respectively. Midoriya weighed his options and decided it was best for them to split up. The hero team had no plan, and his only partner wasn't listening to him. Rushing away from the scene, Midoriya ran upstairs to search for the weapon. He was stopped, however, when the floor beneath him turned to slippery ice. He slipped on a step and fell back down, landing on his back. The entire building was now covered in ice from floor to ceiling. Explosions still echoed throughout the facility's walls. Midoriya had to pull his weight or else Bakugo holding off Todoroki would be for nothing. Midoriya stood back up and grabbed the icy handrail for support. He channeled One For All into his legs and with a single jump he cleared the stairwell. Utilizing the ice's slippery nature, Midoriya slid on it to search a lot faster than he would have normally. After just a couple of minutes of slipping and sliding and searching, Midoriya stumbled across the sound of Kirishima's voice. "Man, that fight sounds intense. I wish I could be there." Midoriya looked at the room he was in and saw that it was closed off with a wall of ice. Through the ice's cloudy opaqueness, he made out the silhouette of Kirishima and behind him, the weapon. Midoriya channeled One For All into his arm and punched through the ice. Chunks of the ice had ingrained themselves into Midoriya's fist, but they fell to the ground as his regeneration did its job. Kirishima reacted quickly, hardening his arms as he prepared to defend. Midoriya attempted to rush past the redhead, but Kirishima moved unexpectedly fast and blocked him. Kirishima used his hardening quirk on his feet, allowing him to slide on the ice like ice skates, giving him more speed and mobility than Midoriya. The teens exchanged strikes and hits as their brawl resulted in a stalemate. Kirishima was able to hold his ground and Midoriya lacked the traction to maneuver on the ice. Suddenly, the entire building started shaking. Loud explosions rang throughout the space as Bakugo unleashed his grenade gauntlet's power. The sound of All Might's voice rang through the facility.
Bakugo, do not use that move again or else you're disqualified.
Smoke filled the air as Bakugo stood, waiting for any signs of movement. He heard the sound of rubble moving and prepared himself to attack again. Todoroki was reaching his freezing point. He was buried under rubble and he was starting to shiver. The explosion had also destroyed part of his hero costume. The left side of his costume had started to crumble as soon as he stood back up out of the rubble. The left side of his body was now freed from the ice, sparking new motivation and allowing him to keep fighting. He generated new ice underneath his feet as he slid towards Bakugo. The explosive teen retaliated, rushing towards him in turn with explosions bolstering his speed. They reached each other and pulled back their fists to strike.
Midoriya has captured the weapon. The hero team wins!
The two were caught off guard by the announcement, as they both flew past each other without committing to their attack. They stared at each other wordlessly until Todoroki broke away first, walking back to the class. When the group all made it back to the class, All Might was able to give a review of the match. Midoriya was able to capture the weapon by breaking through Kirishima's hardening. He focused his attacks on one spot and it eventually wore through the effects of Kirishima's quirk, rendering him too weakened to keep up. The rest of the battle trials continued, and Midoriya was amazed by the abilities of his classmates. But he and Bakugo remained silent towards one another, as the blonde ignored even a friendly, "Good job." Overall, it was a good day for Midoriya. But good days can't last forever. There was a surprise break-in on campus the next day, and every student was panicking. Emergency escapes became congested with students, causing Midoriya to be crushed between the bodies of his schoolmates. And after being pushed against a window, he saw that it was just the press that triggered the school alarm. Midoriya was able to orchestrate a plan with Ida and Uraraka to inform and calm the students about what happened. With the help of Uraraka's quirk, Ida was able to use his engines to fly above the students and get their attention, de-escalating the panic. Earlier that same day, Midoriya had surprisingly been voted to become class representative, but after seeing Ida step up amongst the panic, he decided to give up his position to him. The events of that day may have been thought an overreaction, but what happened was more than meets the eye. It wasn't just the press that broke in. There was someone who was lurking in the shadows on the school campus, and they had learned something. What they had learned would be the kindling of a plan which would burn Hero Society as the world knew it, and no one would be any wiser. Honey is a free browser add-on available on Google, Opera, Firefox, and Safari. If it's a browser, it has Honey. Honey automatically saves you money when you check out on sites like Amazon, Papa John's, Kohl's, or wherever you shop. Whatever you're looking at, it's a good chance that Honey can save you money. All you have to do when you're checking out at these major sites is click that little orange button and it will scan the entire internet and find discount codes for you. It takes 2 clicks to install Honey. Now anytime you check out, Honey will scan for any coupon codes available for you. If there's a code, they will find it. And if there's not a coupon code, you can rest assured that you are getting the best price possible, and that there's no discount code available on the internet at that moment. If you install Honey right now, you can save $50 to $100 on your shopping doing nothing. There's no reason not to install Honey. It takes 2 clicks, 10 million people use it, and it has 100,000 5-star reviews. So unless you hate money, you should install Honey. The week continued like normal, and some students began to forget the events of the break-in. The class was chatting amongst themselves, waiting for class to start when Aizawa showed up early for once. "Listen up, class. We're going on a field trip." Soon enough, the students excitedly boarded a bus while wearing their hero costumes. They were heading out to do some rescue training at the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, or the USJ. The bus ride there was a good way for the class to bond, as many were engaging in light conversation. The most prevalent topic of discussion was the students' quirks. "What even is your quirk, Midoriya?" Ribbit. Suyu questioned. causing all eyes to turn to the freckled teen. Kirishima followed up by asking, "Yeah, you have super strength and regeneration. How does that work?" "Hey, it's kind of like Todoroki's quirk. Instead of half hot and half cold, it's like half damage and half heal," Kaminari reasoned. Midoriya had prepared himself to answer any questions about his dual quirk usage, and he'd come up with a pretty reasonable response. "Well, my quirk is like two sides of the same coin," Midoriya explained. "My super strength is stronger than my body can handle, and it causes serious damage if I don't tone down the power level. As a counter to this, my body has hyper-regeneration and pain insensitivity to protect it against the damage the first half causes." Many students were awed at the duality and uniqueness of such a quirk, and Midoriya sighed in relief at the lack of any follow-up questions. He looked to his left and saw the unamused face of Bakugo staring judgmentally straight at him. Midoriya opted to not look at him for the rest of the bus ride. "All right, we're here," Aizawa announced, as they were, in fact, here. The teacher led his class inside the USJ, where they met up with the space hero, 13, who was also employed for rescue training. The students were amazed at the facility, seeing various simulated environments that they would be practicing in. Waterfalls, mountainscapes, collapsed buildings, and more. They were all carefully detailed and realistic. Off to the side, Midoriya saw Aizawa and 13 hold up the number 3 with their fingers. Midoriya sighed, realizing that All Might had already used up his 3 hours in his buff form. "Welcome everyone to the USJ, 13 excitedly introduced. As heroes you can save, but some quirks have the capacity to kill. Here at the USJ, you'll learn how to hone your skills to utilize your quirks for rescue situations." Just as 13 finished her explanation, several dark swirling clouds formed in the middle of the USJ, and hundreds of villains poured out of them. The first villain that stood out of the mist portal was covered in dismembered hands, and was scratching at the back of his neck, agitatedly. "Where's All Might? Your records said that he would be here. So where is he?" the villain asked, scratching at his neck in increased agitation. "We, the League of Villains, are here to bring the end of the symbol of peace. If he's not here, then maybe killing a couple of kids will bring him out." 13. Protect the students, Aizawa commanded, as he lowered his goggles over his eyes to rush into the group of invaders. But the dark purple mist appeared by the students, radiating an energy of pure evil. This, of course, was Kurogiri. Bakugo and Kirishima attempted to rush the villain, but he appeared to have no physical body to attack. In retaliation, the villain spread the mist in a dome around the students, sending groups of them into various locations in the facility. One moment, Midoriya was engulfed in the purple mist, and next, he was falling, and then submerged underwater. Midoriya forced his eyes open as he attempted to orient himself upwards. He focused One For All into his legs and arms as he swam towards the light, feeling his lungs cry out for oxygen. Just when he was about to reach the surface, a villain covered in scales punched him in the gut, forcing the air he had left in his lungs out of him. Almost immediately after, though, he felt what he thought was a rope lasso around his waist that hoisted him out of the water. It wasn't a lasso, though. His savior was his classmate, Sue. As a frog, she had a rather long tongue. She released her hold on him, though, once they boarded a boat in the middle of the shipwreck zone. Midoriya analyzed the situation. He was stranded in the middle of a large lake surrounded by villains with water-related quirks, and he was trapped with Tsuyu and Mineta. The 3 students were rattled, talking about the implications of the villains' plans, that they might be able to kill All Might. Getting impatient, the villain started attacking the boat, causing it to start slowly sinking. The students were running out of time. Feeling the pressure, Midoriya prompted his 2 classmates, asking, "Let's keep a calm head and think rationally. What about our quirks? Maybe we can think of a plan to get out of here." Sue spoke first, explaining the details of her quirk. "I can jump long distances and stick to walls, Rebooted. My tongue can extend 20 meters and is strong enough to carry a person." Midoriya spoke next, reiterating his quirk explanation from the bus ride. "I have a hyper-regeneration, which is almost instantaneous, and super strength strong enough to break my body if I use it too much." Finally, Mineta spoke to explain his quirk. "I have these balls that grow on my head that stick to anything but myself." Midoriya quickly realized that Mineta's quirk may be useless in getting the 3 out of the situation. When another attack from the villain shook the boat, Midoriya had to come up with a plan. Midoriya jumped high into the air, followed by Sue, who carried Mineta with her tongue. Once she had hopped to the shore of the shipwreck zone, Midoriya was ready. He channeled 100% of One For All into his finger and thumb, and flicked downward with all of his might. The immense air pressure change caused the water to form a vortex, entrapping all the villains in a whirlpool. Mineta knew that he wasn't exactly necessary for this plan, but the moment that he got expelled from UA replayed in his mind. So the small teen started grabbing the balls from his head and throwing them into the vortex as fast as he could. His scalp started to bleed as he overused his quirk, but he didn't care, he wanted to help. The villains stuck to each other due to Mineta's quirk, and once all the water met in the middle of the vortex, it exploded upwards. All of the villains were now stuck, and unable to attack them again. Midoriya landed safely next to Sue and Mineta. His fingers already healed before he touched the ground. The three stayed back at the shipwreck zone, staying hidden from villains and watching intently as Aizawa fought. Their teacher was amazing. He was able to use his capture scarf with ease as he knocked out villains left and right. But then, a giant bird mutant had punched their teacher into the ground. The villain covered in hands approached Aizawa and started complimenting him. He stepped on the eraser hero as he brought his hand down to grip his elbow. When Midoriya saw Aizawa's elbow start to crumble apart from the hand villain's quirk, he couldn't help himself from rushing in to save him. With 8% of One For All boosting his speed, he delivered a punch to the villain's chest. Or at least that's what he was trying to do. The bird creature had caught Midoriya's upper arm and crushed it within his grip. The scene caused the hand villain to release Aizawa, and he couldn't help himself but laugh.
My Nomu is undefeatable. A kid like you can't do anything against it.
With a sinister smile covered by the hand over his face, the villain brought his hand toward Midoriya's elbow. Midoriya flailed his body to try and get out of the Nomu's grasp, but the creature wasn't budging. The villain placed 5 fingers on Midoriya's elbow, and he stared shocked as it slowly started turning to dust. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has got you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the stories of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, then I'd like to extend you an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being that we only accept members from 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whatever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for new members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and have a great day.